First off, the message to humanity. The likes of you, Shai, me, and many, many other researchers have been warning for years or decades that there is a new world order plan tied in with Agenda 2030. There is a cabal, there is a control system, whatever name you want to put on it, and they do seek to control and dominate every aspect of humanity. And they are looking to take things to the end game. And that's where the artificial intelligence comes in. That's where the 5G comes in. That's where the smart cities come in. And we're very, very close to that now. There is no longer any kind of excuse for anyone to say that they didn't know about this. If you didn't know, why didn't you know? If you didn't know, it's because you've chosen not to know. The information is readily available. Many people tell you that these things go on. I made the point in one of my videos a couple of weeks ago that in 2020, everybody must surely know, at least this is the case in Britain. I don't know about other countries, but in the UK, everyone must know someone that talks about alternative conspiracy type issues. At some point in your life, whether it's a family member, whether it's somebody you work with, whether it's a neighbor, whether it's, your cousin, somebody has tried to talk to you about this secret plan to enslave humanity. Everyone has had access to that. So if you've chosen to scoff at it and brush it off and say that's ridiculous, you've chosen to be ignorant in these matters. So there's no longer any excuse for not facing up to this. And we're so close now to the end game that these controllers have wanted to put in place for so long being instigated. So the question becomes, are we going to squander the greatest and possibly the last opportunity that humanity is ever going to have to put this tyranny down, stand up, unite in our mass numbers, stand shoulder to shoulder with each other and say collectively, we're not having this anymore? Because the minute enough people come together and unite on the same page and send that very clear message back to the controllers, we're not having this anymore. You're not our owners. You're not our slave masters. You're not going to dominate us. You're not going to control us. And the minute people stop complying with their own slavery. I mean, we could do a whole other show on the coronavirus, COVID-19, and the massive scam that that's been. But I think we can agree that it is a scam, that it is a massive pandemic. This was known to be coming. Whether or not there's a virus, we could argue about that all day long, but that's not the point. The point is this whole thing was designed as an exercise to introduce even more tyranny and even more draconian measures to all of us. What would have happened if enough people, when they were told to stay in their houses, social distance, close down their businesses, you can't earn a living anymore, you can't go and see your parents anymore, you've got to stay in till we tell you you can go out. What would have happened if enough people, or the vast majority, had said, bollocks to that, we're not doing it. You're not going to tell us when we can see our own parents. You're not going to tell us that we can no longer make a living. You're not going to tell us that we don't have our God-given natural-born rights to freedom of movement and freedom of assembly, to go out and go wherever we choose and to meet up with whoever we choose. For as long as just a small number of people are saying that, they're going to get oppressed and they're going to get picked off and made an example of. But the minute enough of a quantum amount of people stand up and say that, then the controllers have a problem, because their worst nightmare is enough people rising up and saying, we're not doing this anymore, we're not having it. You can stick your controls and your dictates and your statutes and your laws, because we're free sovereign people and we recognize our natural born status, and that's the way we're going to live from now on. So are we going to squander this chance that we now have to take that kind of freedom back to ourselves, or are the vast majority of us still going to cower away under mind control, under fear-based propaganda, and allow the whole of humanity to be enslaved? Because that would involve those of us that have taken personal responsibility for right action and that do side with truth. being held in collective punishment with all these other ignorant people that don't recognize those values. And we cannot allow that to happen. And those of us that have children, how are we going to justify to our own kids and our own grandkids us sitting by the sidelines and just allowing this tyrannical dystopian nightmare that's just around the corner to be put into place? And how are we going to answer them when they ask us what we were doing in 2020 when this thing was being built up all around us? Who is going to be capable of looking their own kids and their own grandkids in the eye and saying, I was doing nothing? Or even worse, I was helping to bring it in because I was enforcing these measures in some way, or I was putting out propaganda and disinformation through the media, or I was a professional doctor, medical professional, and I knew that we weren't being told the truth about what a virus is, but my salary was more important than other people's freedoms, so I kept quiet about it. So that would be my message to humanity. You know, can you afford to envisage a day in the future where you have to have that conversation with your own kids and justify to them why you did nothing and why they're now living in a perpetual prison state? My message to the cabal, to the controllers, would be, you are losing, and you are going to lose, because you've underestimated a few things. You've underestimated the innate human spirit towards freedom and sovereignty and what these values represent. You've underestimated how a few who recognize these values and employ right action in their lives and side with truth and freedom and justice and love can turn this kind of situation around to our collective advantage. And we might not have everyone on board, but there are enough of us now to be able to dictate how this whole thing plays out. The control system has had its day for a very long time, but evil never prospers in the end. All the way through human history, you can look at multiple examples of when evil and tyranny has risen, and it always ends the same way. All these regimes have always eventually failed. None of them prosper and thrive and continue on, because evil always gets defeated. Truth always rises to the surface in the end. It takes a very long time sometimes for that process to occur. But for as long as people side with truth and good, godliness, with nature, with creation, with our innate humanity, then we can put down any kind of evil. And we're at a crossroads now. We're at a crucial moment of choice for humanity. And my message to the evildoers is, you've had your day. Justice is coming, and the game is over for you. And that really is how I feel about it. I'm feeling quite positive today. You caught me on a good day.
Mark Devlin, thank you very much.